For me, I've seen this movie before. I've seen it in other sectors. Today, we're talking about sports tech. We're talking about it globally, and we're talking about it at a macro level and a micro level, what's going on in Qatar. And I've seen it in industries in e-commerce. I've seen it in ad technology. I've seen it in Bitcoin, wearable computing, digital health, fintech. And what we see often in our investors is that in the early stages of a market, you hear early whispers, companies emerge, angel investors emerge that support those companies, corporate partners come into the market, numerous accelerants come into the market, and all of a sudden you have this on a macro level, major economic activity, later stage companies, and meaningful exits. Today, we're going to provide a macro understanding of what's going on in sports tech, what makes it unique, what makes it exciting, and then we're going to focus on the micro of why this market, especially in Qatar, is so amazing for ecosystem players, whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, a corporate partner, all the members of the ecosystem. We have a really distinguished panel for you today, and we'll introduce in a second. And my hope is that we provide a lively discussion that helps you understand where the sports tech ecosystem has been, where it's going, and why it's such an exciting time to become an active participant in it, whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, a corporate partner, or otherwise helper of this ecosystem in Qatar. So let's get started. All right, so I want to have our distinguished panelists introduce themselves. First, we have Lars.
Hi, David. Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time. Great to be here. My name is Lars Buch. I'm heading Startup Bootcamp, the accelerator in MENA and Russia. I have an engineering past. I've been working as in the borderline between corporates and startups for the last 10 years now. Relevant for this event, I have invested in around 50 startups. And also relevant is that there is around 22, 23 of those left. So it's a bumpy ride over the last 10 years. I've mostly invested in health and mobile technology. From Startup Bootcamp, we have run now more than 120 programs across the globe in many different domains. Sport is now 3-4 years old in Qatar, but it's still one of our young domains. We also have sports accelerators in Australia and in Italy coming up. But the oldest sports accelerator we have is in Qatar, and that's where we see really the maturity now coming through. So happy to be here and happy to support even more angels to become angels.
Great, thanks, Lars. Our next panelist is Alexander Wigmer, a partner at Iris Capital.
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So I've been a venture capitalist for the last 20 years with an international fund manager called Iris Capital. Also, I've been an occasional business angel. I was an entrepreneur before that. I've been very privileged in my career. I've had some resounding successes in North America and Europe, also in the Middle East, in fact. I've also had some phenomenal failures. That's par for the course, and it's all part of learning. Since 2013, I've been responsible for the Middle East. So I've been practicing venture capital here in the region for quite some time. I work very closely with the Qatar Development Bank. I help QDB manage its own venture capital program. I'm based in Doha. I'm very excited to be based in Doha, in fact. I feel that there'll be some very visible successes in sports tech and other fields coming out of Qatar in the next years. We'll talk about this to some extent on this panel, and I want to be part of that success.
Great, thank you, Alexander. And last on the panel, but not least, Sheikh Mansour, who is a super angel and catalyst for the ecosystem. Sheikh?
Thank you so much, David. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited and happy to be with you today and looking for a fruitful discussions. I started as an entrepreneur in 1996. I'll make it very short because there are a lot of things. but I'll make it very short. So I started my first startup in 1996 in Qatar, which was something super unique that nobody knows about startup at that time. And really, I learned it the hard way. I learned everything myself. In 2001, I joined the Council of the Royal Family Affairs as a CTO, CIO kind of a position until 2011. I continued my startups journeys, and I've been a serial entrepreneur for a couple of startups. Soon, a couple of them will go IPO, and I decided to focus more in later on the last few years on being a coach and mentor and angel investors for entrepreneurs, really to help everyone achieve success. We are creating a kind of a global ecosystem in MBK Holding. As a chairman and founder of MBK Holding, we are creating kind of a global entrepreneurial ecosystem. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sheikh, and I can't wait to hear more about how you're actually going about doing that to give guidance to the audience. The rules here are pretty simple. I'm going to ask some guiding questions. Panelists, feel free to ask questions of one another. Audience questions are welcome, I believe, in the chat, and there are no bad questions. And at the end, we'll go through some of the questions will be fed to us, and we'll announce them out loud. And let's begin. The first topic I want to talk about is what's going on in sports tech globally, and help the audience understand why is this so exciting and why is it such a unique sector to get involved in, whether you're a corporate partner, an entrepreneur, an angel investor, or even a government entity promoting economic development. Lars, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so what's exciting is that I think you touched on it in your intro, David, that the people that have been here 10 years or more in investment side have seen this pattern before. In Startup Bootcamp, we started with automotive disruption, then we moved into fintech, insurtech, health tech. Now, what comes next? We see a huge focus on a balanced health, you could say, like wellness in general. And then sport is just one of those strong niches in that space that really get traction now. And when I say really get traction, we see a move from maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was passionate single angel investors that was investing in a startup with a little bit obscure solution in the sports industry. Now we see everybody getting involved. The VCs are interested. The corporates are getting involved. So that's the trend we have seen before in other domains, and we just see that happening to sport now.
When you look at Lars or Alexander, when you think about capital formation, the pools of capital that are forming to invest in this, where are we in the cycle? Traditionally we've got these hype cycles where, and I was part of it at in the 2012 period of time where you had Fitbit and Jawbone and Misfits and all these wearable companies applied to sports. Really didn't have, other than Fitbit, have big exits. A lot of money went into it, and then we've hit this trough of disillusionment. It seems now we're coming back up into this. This is the reality where you have massive market share companies and massive revenues. But what are the key drivers that you're seeing here that are similar to other sectors?
Lars, did you want to pursue on your last thought, or do you want me to take this, or?
You can take over, Alex.
Yeah, I can take over, but I'm not. I mean, what I should say is that there are some sports tech specialized investors, which is good news for the sector. There are VCs that raise money specifically on a sports tech investment strategy. As it happens, Iris Capital is not one of them. We're a generalist tech investor, and that's good news also, because generalist tech investors will look at sectors that are up and coming and that are exciting and that are starting to provide for for capital gains and for good exits. And sports tech is one of them. As Lars said, it's the kind of the next vertical that is garnering interest, and therefore capital from specialized investors as well as generalist tech investors are gravitating towards sports tech opportunities. And so it's only good news for the sector, actually. Now, generalist tech VCs, they take a very cold view toward vertical markets. Sports tech is like any other e-transformation sector, like IoT transforms manufacturing or fintech transforms banking. And so sports tech is transforming a sector that is in need of transformation. And this is how we see it. And within that, we just pick and choose the right opportunities that have the same fundamentals as any other sector: a great management team, a unique offering, a defensible market, etc.
When I think about innovation economies and vertical sectors, I think of it in terms of a triangle, an interplay between the entrepreneur community, sometimes the scientific community doing R&D, the corporate community, and the capital markets. What I've been so excited about getting more involved in the Qatar initiative is that it seems like there's so much energy and resources being poured into this. Why is sports so important in Qatar? Maybe I'll turn this over to Sheikh Mansour and Alexander. Why is this important in Qatar, and what does that mean for entrepreneurs and investors, especially angels?
I'll take this. I think sport is really something that kind of in our blood for some time now. We really love sport and promote sport and enjoy sport. And being an angel investor, I've been investing in different tech areas, but the sport really was a little bit unique because it has a lot of emotions. It has a lot of also, as you said, wellness, or I think Alex said about wellness, or Laura, I don't recall, but it's really something that has multi-dimension. And I think in Qatar, we really love and promote and do sport. And my investment in the SportsTech was very unique. I am so excited and I can see so much opportunities in the SportsTech. And it's really evolving, and things are getting together with wellness and other things, because if you think about it, it is very, very related to human health in general.
When I've looked at other geographies, for instance, in Canada, the government supports innovation in a number of ways, providing incentives to the triangle of participants. Local economies also provide incentives. Again, what is the government doing? What are government agencies doing to support both the angel investor community and also the startups that are the beneficiaries of the angels' capital and mindshare?
So,
would you like to? Yeah. So I think Qatar is moving big time into this. And as we speak, there are so many initiatives. Actually, QST is one of them. And there are other accelerators and incubation centers that is really done by QDB. And QDB is very much supported government bank that is really pushing the startups and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And also recently, they've been very active in creating the angel investment ecosystem. And we are really contributing to that. And hopefully things will be announced soon in so many different initiatives that evolving even what we have already as an encouragement to the entrepreneurial and startup activities.
I have nothing to add to that, David. I mean, QDB is being particularly active in this space and is providing a boost which is now very tangible in this sector. And as I said before, I do think that there will be some great successes coming out of that.
For us, I just want to add that for us in Startup Bootcamp, the support has been much more concrete and upfront. So it's years since we started the collaboration with the Qatar Development Bank, and we would not be in Qatar without that support. So that's a very concrete step that was taken already years ago, and we are continuing to build on that.
QST has produced about 40, 50 startups. Is that correct?
40, yeah.
And is that a microcosm of what's going on throughout Qatar? What else is happening?
Yeah, so from our perspective, we have also an earlier stage incubator that is supporting the local talent to take the very first steps to establish an own business. And then QST is more our accelerator flagship, where we really have an increasingly mature startups joining us to take that next step and grow to both seed and Series A level maturity of the startups.
Got it. So if I'm an entrepreneur, how should I think about, if I'm an entrepreneur with that resides there or someone from the outside, how should I think about bringing my startup or starting up a company in Qatar?
I think it's there are so many different ways of starting up a company in Qatar. The QSTP is definitely one of the promoters of that, but you have now so many different free zones, and also locally in Qatar you can have also any local partners to do that. But free zones now are available, like a QSTP, like a QFZ, like a QFC. So you can have 100% ownership. Depends on the type of activity or type of domain that you are focusing on. But I think QST is one of the greatest starting points, and we are here to help and support. And we do this, actually. We help a lot of companies establish themselves in Qatar and in the region.
When you talk about 100% ownership, are you talking about non-dilutive capital, non-dilutive services?
Yes. If you have your own investments, you have your own thing, you can absolutely have 100% ownership on everything. Great.
Sounds like Qatar is the new Miami. Apparently, that's the hot spot in the United States now, where tons of angel investors and capital, and the government's gotten behind, or the city's gotten behind, giving incentives. It's a really exciting time for that market. Sheikh Mansour, you're an established angel. You've built a network. For those in the audience that are interested, what does that actually mean, and why do you do it, and what does that mean?
Two things here. First of all, you need to really know what does it mean and why you want to do it. I think this is really important. It's not a traditional investment. It's not an easy investment, but it is super exciting. It's really beautiful. I enjoy it. It's a passion for me. So angel investment is really more of a passion than just an investment, because there are so many other investments that are much more secure, but angel investment has highest reward and highest risk. So you need to be a little bit oriented to that. Your mentality has to be more of a angel investment mentality. So it's not really anyone, but anyone is welcome, of course, but I don't think everyone will enjoy it, because there are people who doesn't really enjoy it. So I think it's very individual approach. And we build a practice. Actually, we have now a practice that guide anyone who want to be an angel investor. Actually, we are starting now creating like syndicates and angel investments kind of coaching and mentoring, not for entrepreneurs, but for angel investors. So this is something that is part of our new global ecosystem that I was talking about.
So is it fair to say you're the angel of angels?
Absolutely. I think we are doing that already. Actually, I have 9 angels now that I'm leading, and they are just kind of, I am mentoring and coaching. And yeah, I can see the journey. There is a journey. It's very similar to the entrepreneur, actually, because I think angel investor is a little bit unique. It's not anyone. Anyone can be, but not anyone would be. I think once they start, suddenly they stop. It's not what they want. So if you're just looking for just money, there are so many other things to make money, but angel investment is much more than money.
Let me ask a few more probing questions on that, and bring in Lars, who's made a number of investments, as he said, and runs things at companies at the earliest stages, and also Alexander, whose fund is a little bit later stage. But what is the time horizon as you think about investing, angel investing? What's the time horizon you're thinking about?
Oh, that's such a nice question. First of all, I want to echo Sheikh Mansour's input that I don't think that I've ever made an investment with the intention to get rich, to do that for a return on investment. That's not the way. I'm the type of person that took the family TV apart when I was 5 years old, when parents was out, just to see how things was working. And this is something that I have brought with me all the way, and it's something that I bring to investment also. I want to learn. I get excited about technology. I get even more excited about excited people. Also, sometimes too quick, jumping on a passionate project simply because it just looks and feels good. And then, we didn't really look through how we would make money on this. That comes later. So you kind of mature over time and try to make more and more wise investments. But back to your real question, how long does that take? The learning journey goes on forever, hopefully. When you start out on this, you tend to only look at those famous cases where you have a 100x within a 3-year period. It's incredible how rare that happens. Personally, I made around 30 investments from 2012 to 16. There is around 10 of those left, and none of them have exited. But if you look over time, I think we are right now on a 3-4x return, because of course the remaining companies, they actually create revenue, so they become worth more. But you cannot get around a portfolio thinking as an angel, and you cannot get around that everything takes longer than you thought. So enjoy the journey, and don't call up the founders every second month and ask, is it exit time? Is it exit time? Because normally it's not exit time. Mostly it's just dying time.
I think that's such a good point. Sorry, Alexander, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. I was going to just confess that unlike Lars, I have on occasion made investments in order to get a proper return.
You're also a real venture capitalist, Alex.
Right.
The rest of us are just hobby people with the day job on the side.
I know I'm the moderator, but I'd love to offer this point, because I've been both an angel investor and I've worked in the venture capital at one of the larger venture capital firms on the West Coast, making really early stage investments. And I love Sheikh Mansour's positioning as well, of this is not about any time. It's about a journey and a career. It's the focus. It's nothing. It's not like buying a stock, like you're going to sell a stock. and I want to offer this. It's somewhat sad, but it's true. And that is, I started in 2004 at a firm called Idealab Capital Partners, which was one of the most successful first funds of all time, and through 3 funds. And the truth is, and I joined in the 3rd fund. I started making investments for them in 2005. It has taken 15 years before I even could honestly say I was decent. It's a long journey. The process is much more important than the outcome. It turns out, as we've just had 2 massive liquidity events, it turns out from a financial standpoint, it's been fantastic. But until this last year, 15, 16 years in, everything was on paper. And I joked that I'm the same person I was. We had a $700 million exit a couple days ago. Until last year, I didn't know whether I honestly was good or not. So take the performance out of it. You really do have to love helping people, and the karmic rewards and the returns come later.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important we wouldn't want to discourage this audience from speaking to VCs either. And while we can make this distinction here, from business angel who does it more from, let's say, from love or from gut feeling, and professional venture capitalist who does it more coldly. At the end of the day, it also kind of comes to the same. I mean, a venture capitalist will also only invest in companies that he or she really believes in from that other level, as well, and really feels that he or she can partner with for a decent period. And so, to answer your initial question, David, so I mean, we will typically invest with an idea that the company should be sellable within three years or so. I mean, it usually takes about a year to 2 years to know whether the business plan on which you invested was the real one, the right one, whether it's actually going to happen that way. And then you start thinking about dressing up the company for an exit, which then may or may not happen. And if it doesn't happen, then you can go in for the long term. So I also recently had a pretty decent exit, David, in the last month. We were 20 years in this company. I had an evergreen fund before we became a fund, a closed-end fund manager. And in this evergreen, we just exited the last exit after 20 years.
I want to shift the focus to what's going on in Qatar on this point, because I've certainly been in markets where if you just think about like 3D printing or clean tech, there have been these types of movements of ecosystem development, the hype cycle, that turned out to be a hype cycle. That's it. But there's a tremendous amount of benefit. The saying is the early bird gets the worm. There's a tremendous benefit to being the first one in. And Sheikh Mansour, you're obviously incredibly early, having to catalyze organizing other angels, but that early bird, I've seen it in Silicon Valley, I've seen it in Los Angeles, where our firm was headquartered, where there was no one there, but the angel investors that were there first.
Yes.
Those are the ones that have produced the most impact, not just returns, but impact. Talk a little about that.
Absolutely correct. And this is really beyond my expectation when I started focusing a bit more on Qatar, because I was really doing more angel investment outside Qatar. Not because of anything, but because of the maturity that were there. And that's a great indication for me also to see the maturity is happening in Qatar. But when I started, it's just probably less than 2 years, actually, a year and a half, I started really focusing more on Qatar. And the amount of outcome and impact is awesome, beyond my expectation. I was not really expecting this. And now I think everybody is looking into joining the journey. And because when I came, I saw a lot of what they claim angel investment. I'm sorry to say that. I'm not against anyone, but it was not. It was more of a VC, even private equity even. So when they saw the real angel investment, everybody just, actually we are overloaded. We can't even handle what we have today because everybody is coming, and because they saw what we do, and what we do is different. It's really totally different. It's the true angel investments. It's plus services that we provide as an support for the entrepreneurs, coaching and mentoring, and so many other things. I can't say them all here. So I think, yeah, absolutely correct. And it was not in my mind. I didn't know that would happen to me.
I would assume there's room for many angel of angels in a new ecosystem.
Absolutely. You are most welcome. Everybody is most welcome.
And it should be said that that Sheikh Mansour and angels like him, or super angels like him, are doing the ecosystem a great favor, also because VCs like we are look at a company that has received angel investment in a more favorable light from the get-go. And so that in itself is helping the companies raise further rounds.
Tell me, Alexander, how should, or Sheikh Mansour, how should angels think about working with the venture capital community?
I think Alexander should be better to answer that, because actually I don't think I was thinking about it very serious, because I see VCs as any other investors, but maybe they see us in a different form. But for me, VC and any other investor is the same for me, because I really focus on the success of the entrepreneur, regardless of who are the investors, who is coming. It's irrelevant for me, unless it has like super potential add value. If the add value is really there and very obvious and clear, VC or others, or corporate, or even individual, high wealth individual, it's all equal to me. Because as an angel investor, I focus on the entrepreneur success, the startup success. This is my mission as an angel investor. So that's why I tell you, angel investment is very different.
I mean, I hear that because you're doing the hard work, right? I mean, the angel comes in and in fact helps to get the company VC ready, or further investor ready. And so to you, therefore, then I can understand this kind of indifference. The way we look at it is we now, having said that, I should go back and I should say that like the founding team, the managers in place, you're in a unique position to potentially choose your investor, because it's a very important choice. And so to a large extent, this is how you should see us, is in fact, what is the value add? What have we done in the sector? Who will the partner be that will be looking after this investment? These are all questions that you should be asking of the VC coming in, and you should help to choose for maximum impact for the company. Now, what we do is we love business angels because they bring us more qualified deals, because they help to coach the startups. Sometimes we even co-invest with angels. We'll find a company, we will want to invest in this company. It may even be slightly later stage than an angel would typically come in, and we'll go to some angels that we work with on a regular basis, and we'll say, how would you like to put a small ticket alongside us in this company? Because we know the value that they will bring if they co-invest with us.
Yeah, I think this is really spot on, Alexander, especially the selection of investors. Actually, we are doing that every time and all the time, and you just you just presented to me because this is what we are doing actually.
Might be controversial, and you guys can react to it. And I've seen, again, early markets, and we've been the earliest. We started our own companies, over 50 companies we started from the ground up. We're the angel investor. Sometimes we're ended up being the Series A investor. And in an early market, the angel investors have a tremendous amount of power and bringing to the next round of funding, the later stages of funding. As markets mature, so if you look at today, fintech in the United States or e-commerce or any of the things that are clearly producing massive outcomes, the angels are getting squeezed by the later stage capital, and it gets back to that early bird gets the worm. But how should angels think about in Qatar continuing to get the value that they deserve as this market matures?
I think this is really very simple because Angel looks for a very early startup, looks to the team, to the entrepreneur themselves, to the idea, there are so many factors that the Angel should look into. So I see your point, I acknowledge it, but really it's not gonna affect us much because the way we see things is really very, very different. And the VC won't do that because they don't want to do that. They want us to prepare it for them because it's a passion driven. It's not really return or investment return driven. Yes, it has a huge return, and I did actually an exit a few years ago, a couple of exits in no time. In 3 years, I made 10x and more than one time. So yeah, it is. But also there are other more than 50 or 60 still there. No, haven't done anything. But so I enjoy the journey. Let me make it that simple.
Lars, you guys start so many companies through Startup Bootcamp. How do you stay on the cap table when later stage investors want more of the company than you feel they deserve? How do you protect over time? How do you stay on the cap table?
So per kind of almost definition, we as an accelerator, we do not follow on like many of our colleagues. You could argue that other big accelerators like Plug and Play and Techstars and others, they are basically micro VCs and not really focused on the acceleration part. We are building ecosystems. We believe in aligned incentives, and we can support founders over many years with a very, very small cut of the company. That also means, of course, as you said, that we are a little bit under pressure in the more successful companies. But I don't really see it as a problem. I mean, in reality, we are only burning small money to do a big impact, I think. We had a great example of in our Africa-based accelerator. They just finished in 2020. They just finished a 3-year role with 30 startups, and 6 months after the last program, one of their companies raised massively, and they agreed to exit and sell 80% of their shares to that next investor, paid back all the investors in the accelerator program 2x, and then they still had a little lottery ticket in that company. So I think that's a part of making the wheels run. It's coming back to what Sheikh Mansour said, that we don't feel squeezed because it was never our intention to make 100x. We are building ecosystems, and we are paid to create ecosystems. When the startups are doing well and we can exit something, then it's a plus for us, not a must.
Yeah, so those are great points. I think that from my experience, those who provide outsized value, who really provide value, don't get removed from cap tables. They don't get reduced. In fact, especially when they have phenomenal relationships with founders, it's everyone else that, when you're dividing up a pie or trying to increase your share as you go along. The more value you provide, the more long-term you're committed to this ecosystem, the more leverage you're going to have. I think it really comes back to, like as Sheikh Mansour was saying, long-term commitment to the entrepreneur, to the process.
Yeah, spot on. Actually, this is absolutely amazingly correct, because the more investors comes, the more the founders are making sure that we are there as angel investors, especially myself and my team, because we act really on the favor of the entrepreneur. We really focus on the entrepreneur benefits and success, which is very, very different. And I saw that happening with us a couple of times, actually many times, that they don't want us to leave by any means possible.
Great. So I don't know how much more time we have, but I want to, if this is the last topic, I want to switch for a second, because we've talked about all the resources that are in place. And if you're an angel investor out there, or you're an entrepreneur, or even someone from outside like me, you should be really excited about what's going on in Qatar. But for the panel, I'll start with you, Lars. What is success here? If you look out 5 years down the road, what is success for this ecosystem? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it has been mentioned, especially by Sheikh Mansour. We tend to look at the world from the entrepreneur's side and not the capitalist side. Money in this play is just fuel in the veins. We love to see real solutions solve real problems, and in that, so for us, a success is that we have a lot of mid-size startups successfully out there spreading their solutions. So eventually, people can enjoy sport in a new way, in a new exciting way. Across the QST teams, we have almost an even split between enterprise solutions and B2C solutions. There is the whole thing, attacking a domain from all sides in a positive way. So for us, success is a well-functioning ecosystem where entrepreneurs and investors kind of coexist and bring great solutions to the crowds. That's what we want to achieve.
Sheikh Mansour, what does the ecosystem look like? What does success look like in 5 years? If you're an entrepreneur, what does it look like? If you're an investor, what does it look like? If you're the government, what does it look like?
You mean in Qatar, of course. I think it's evolving so fast. It's evolving rapidly in the last 2 years, and that's what really made me to refocus and focus myself here back in Qatar, And actually, I'm so pleased and so happy and so proud of what Qatar is doing into this ecosystem. And I think from an entrepreneur side and investor side, it's almost equal, because the more support to the entrepreneur, the investor will enjoy it more and will invest more. And the more support to the investors, the entrepreneurs will be more happy because there is more investment and more investors are joining. So it is an ecosystem. So I think that's why we are now focusing on this angel, because that I think this is the weakest link as of today. We have completed most of the ecosystem part, and I think the angel investment with the environment, and when I say environment, I mean like business environment, business law, business court, and the visa system. For example, in Qatar, this is an issue about the visa and legislation and this. So I think this is all being addressed as we speak. And I think with probably less than a year, thing will dramatically change, because it's been there already for a year and almost approved so many things. So I think the progress that we had in the last 2 years is awesome. And I think what is coming in the next 2 years is brilliant. I think we'll be in the map of the entrepreneurial ecosystem globally.
Great, yes. Thank you, Alexander. What does success look like 5 years out for the ecosystem and for you as a player in the ecosystem?
Yeah, in different words, perhaps the same kind of message. I mean, I think that Qatar needs two things. It needs a fabulous success. So it needs its Karim or its Talabat. It needs either a homegrown company or one of the extended family of companies, international companies that have come through QST, for example, to be one of these very visible successes. I think that Qatar needs this, and I think that Qatar is going to get it. And the second thing that it needs is it needs this kind of continuing success that is based on private enterprise. So government is doing a lot. Like we said, QDB is bringing venture capital funds, including Iris Capital, for which we're very thankful, to Qatar and other fund managers. It's doing the Angel Initiative, which is fabulous. It's doing a lot, but government has to be the spark, for something to be sustainable and for something to last for the long term. It has to be private sector that takes over an ecosystem that is mature and that runs by itself. So those two things is what I want in place in 5 years.
Great. Thank you so much for your amazing insights. We have some questions from the audience. The first question is, can angel investments be a corporate function of a company or a business, or is it strictly a function of individuals?
It's really more of an individual, but it can be like the individual can lead the corporate activity, and this is actually what is a little bit unique of what we are doing in MBK Holding, because what we saw here is a huge demand globally, but locally. So what I did, I created a team of the mentality that we are doing actually. So it's more of a, but I won't say it, I can't say this is a very corporate. I would say it's more of a team-led angel investment. But everything could happen, but I don't know. I haven't really seen a very corporate-oriented angel investment. So the answer is possible. It could be possible if the criteria is there, the willingness is there, the leadership is there. It could act, because it's in the end, it's a characteristics that you should have, and a time that you should spend. It's not only money that you should put. So if these characteristics are there, it's fine. Why not?
Yeah, from our side, we just call it something else. We don't call it angel investors if it's a company. Then we mostly see corporates invest with a strategic purpose, and that's perfectly okay. As a startup, I would happily take a corporate's money under the right terms. We also see a lot of corporates, successful corporate people, first becoming mentors in our programs, and then start to invest as angel investors. So basically individuals coming out of the corporate environment, but it ended up being a personal choice and a personal investment.
Got it. So another question from the audience. Sometimes startups with good products don't get a chance to showcase their products during a business cycle, which eventually results in startups getting unrecognized. Will there be a mechanism where these startups get evaluated fairly? And I'll take a stab at this, and then you guys can tell me I'm wrong and give the right answer. One of the hallmarks of great entrepreneurs is figuring it out. Just doing it. If you use the Nike, just do it. If you can't get noticed, if you can't get to an investor, if you can't get your product out the door, that's a sign. It's a sign I look for as an angel or an investor. There are a lot of signs, and if you're in the angel investment bootcamp to follow, we'll talk about a lot of signs that we're looking for in the early stages. But it may seem unfair, but that's part of the funnel to separate people out. You need to be able to find the right investor, and if you don't know them, that you should find someone who knows them, or build people around you to get to know them. But notoriety, there's a lot of mechanisms, and clearly Lars is and QST is one of them, but there are a lot of mechanisms to get noticed. It's unfortunate, but it's a little bit of a survival of the fittest game.
I mean, if I would have had exactly the same answer. I mean, it is unfortunate if the timing is wrong. I've invested in some tech companies for which the tech was a little bit too early for the world to adopt. These companies converted themselves into service companies for a matter of a year or 2 years until the tech was ready to go, and then reconverted to tech and had successful runs as tech companies. And entrepreneurs have to find a way to do this. This is the answer.
I think it's there is no difference from my side. We are reviewing literally thousands of startups per year, and if you don't, I mean, I don't think that there is any excuse, to be honest. If you have a real solution solving a real problem with a credible team behind it, you can raise money. If you cannot get attention, if you cannot raise, there is a reason for it.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree. I agree with all of what's said. I think it's really the entrepreneur, and he should start with his own circle. And as you mentioned at the beginning, he should find, if he doesn't have someone, he should find someone who can find the right person.
Great. I think we have time for one, maybe two last questions. This one's a really interesting question. What are the major technological highlights in the sports industry nowadays, and how is digital transformation improving sports experience at both the execution level and the viewership level? And I'll frame this by saying, as Alexander certainly knows as a broad-based later stage investor, the early stage bets and the early stage catalysts that have provided stimulus of that goes into R&D have made tremendous strides in AR and VR and computer vision and blockchain and AI and ML and edge computing, specifically when it comes to sensors and transmitting, the cloud, all of these things. These developments over the past 20 years, that as the technology has matured, has paved the way for amazing advances in sports tech, right? So that's kind of what's happening on the macro. But to the panel, what are the major highlights that have changed the sports experience, at both the execution level and the viewership level?
I mean, for me, try to check out SportsTech's.com from the QST. New imaging technology, so you follow the players very closely. Amazing technology. We also have companies that have brought in-car cameras in Formula One, and I mean, a completely new engagement method, which I think is changing the game completely. Very soon we will have a camera. When you are seeing rowing, you just see these boats going and going and going for 6-10 minutes, super boring. Very soon you will see the guys crying and sweating very close up. It's going to change the experience completely.
But to echo David, I mean, SportsTech is a great company. At the end of the day, it's a media company, right? I mean, that's what we see anyway. We see the underlying industry, right? So we see IoT in SportsTech, and we see software, and we see media. And so any good team that transforms the way that things are being done, and that shows the rowers crying instead of the super boring kind of view from above, is transforming the industry in a way that makes it, excitingly investable.
Great. Last question. Do you prefer to invest in technology companies that have regional expertise? Are they better situated to provide what the companies really need?
Say again the question.
Let's just take the first part of it. Do you prefer to invest in technology companies that have regional expertise?
Yes, could be, but not really necessary. Some local expertise with a great exposure can be sometimes much better than multinational. So it's not really a rule. No. So yes and no. It really depends on the team and the entrepreneur and so many factors. This is the thing. Here you can't really put a single factor to it. So it could be a good thing. Yes.
Yeah. There's no formula. It's all dependent on the business case.
Yes.
I mean, Karim had regional specificities that made it very defensible against Uber when Uber came to the Middle East, and that was great for that business model. Some companies are inherently international from day one, depending on the offering and depending on the company. And so there's no formula, but it's certainly not a bad thing to have a business case that is dependent on regional specificity, and to master that. That's certainly a selling point for investors.
Yes.
Great. Lars, last point, and we'll wrap up.
I think I echo most of what has been said. We are looking for teams that can build global solutions, but we very much like the team to have regional insights to their go-to-market area where they decide to start the journey. Great.
Well, I want to wrap up, and to all of you in the audience, thank you so much for your time today. I hope we provided an informative panel, an engaging panel. I hope you're as excited as everyone on the panel is about what's going on in Qatar. Lars, Sheikh Mansour, and Alexander, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, David.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.